Approximately 60,000 people have been killed, 70% of whom are children and women, more 42,000 injured. In the West Bank as well, 262 people were killed during the same period. These martyrs are not mere numbers. Every martyr has a human story with a hope, with a dream of living in a dignified life, just like any other human being in their homeland. However, this Nazi occupation killed these souls, killed these dreams brutally and in a barbaric fashion. This will be a condemnation on this regime and all those who kept silent, on all those who supported that regime against our people. We pray to Allah the Almighty to accept and bless the souls of the martyrs and to heal those injured, and we greet and salute our people who are standing fast, who have not left their home, who are standing fast on their land, denying and rejecting all plans of displacement as plotted by the Zionists and marketed by the U.S. Secretary of State, the Jew, as he claims. We salute Al-Qassam brigades and the brigades of all the Palestinian resistance in Gaza and the West Bank, who are writing the annals of an epic victory of our people, defending our people's rights, defending our people's sacred sites and land. And in every moment they are making the enemy sustain injuries and losses and making Gaza a cemetery for such an aggressor. And we support our youth who are revolting in the West Bank, who are engaging with the forces of the occupation. We salute the supporters of our people in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and in Iraq. And today I commence my word of the plans of the Nazi occupation, the horrible massacres of the occupation against our unarmed civilian people, and the bombardment that razed entire neighborhoods to the ground since the aggression on Gaza, destroying houses, infrastructure, including hospitals and schools that and even international institutions with international flags. This is just to hide the numbers of their losses, trying to hide the hits sustained by the enemy from Al-Qassam brigades. This heroism by our people this massacre is under the sponsorship of American government, using ammunition and smart ammunition supplied by the U.S. to this regime. And it's continuously supplied to Israel, which makes the American administration and the President Biden the responsibility of such massacres, and defies any claim that this administration or this country and their claim that they sponsor democracy and human rights. These Nazi massacres are not limited to the Gaza Strip. They continue to be perpetrated across all the cities of the West Bank and its camps, and in Jerusalem as well. This enemy is waging a barbaric, brutal war against our people across all the occupied lands. These massacres will not break our will, and such massacres will not allow the Nazi occupation to meet their objectives. These people, our people who are writing the annals of an epic and a legendary battle, telling the story of a hero people defending their land and their sacred lands. Despite all the American claims, there are no safe zones in Gaza Strip. As the occupation army is claiming, the occupation has transformed all the lands of Gaza into an open war zone for their war machine, targeting men, women, and every living, moving thing. And yesterday was for the 67th anniversary of Khan Yunis massacre that was committed in 1956, which was during the aggression launched by Israel, France, and the UK. France, that is teaching us lessons about freedom. And on that year, 520 martyrs were killed. And today, this Nazi enemy is reliving the same massacre against our unarmed civilians, the children and grandchildren of those people who were killed in the earlier massacre. This enemy that knows nothing but the language of massacres and displacing people or annihilation of the entire people. However, this objective did not materialize and will not be achieved, as our enemy has failed in rooting us out from our land as they promised. Here we reiterate our warning from all attempts and all plots that are in sync with this Israeli plot to displace our people from the Gaza Strip under whatever pretext. These all are plots, and Zionist plots and American plots on the account of the blood of our people, and anyone who's involved in such plots and plans, no matter how good intentions they say, they are partners in such a crime of genocide and displacement. And here very confidently we say that the goals of Netanyahu and his army are unattainable. And what Netanyahu is doing is just a revenge and a thirst for blood. This is not a sign of victory, but rather a sign of defeat and the fall of his government, and to be convicted and persecuted as a war criminal. The real objective of Netanyahu and his military is to eliminate the Palestinian people and kill the issue and kill the cause, and to decide this conflict, and this is an impossibility. And if there is any other Satan or any evil other than him, after 60 days of war, Netanyahu and his military couldn't achieve a single military nor political victory. It's a dream that will never come true to him nor to his military. No matter how long the war would last, we are well prepared. Over 75 years, this enemy has never claimed victory against our people. Our people have always been in resisting, and therefore they can never win against Hamas, and they can never claim victory against our Palestinian people. And here I would like to confirm that Netanyahu and his war staff are sinking deeper and deeper in the swamp of Gaza. They all couldn't liberate a single captive except according to our terms. And here we reiterate that there is no negotiation, no swap, without ceasing and stopping the aggression against our people and against Gaza. And here we hold Netanyahu for responsibility for the lives of the Israeli and Zionist captives, as he have foiled and hindered the swap deal as he resumed his attack against Gaza. They are under the threat of being killed by the bombardments of Netanyahu's war machine, and it now has become clear to us that Netanyahu doesn't care about these captives, doesn't care about their families, and he doesn't care about their lives. We would like to reiterate to the Nazi occupation government that the that the Al-Aqsa Mosque will continue to remain a purely Islamic mosque, and they will never have sovereignty over that mosque, and will say to the people of the temple, that extreme group, to violate and desecrate Al-Aqsa Mosque. We tell them that Al-Aqsa flood will not stop and will continue until you are defeated and swept away from our land, from our sacred sites. As to the continued humanitarian suffering, the occupation didn't suffice with inhuman massacres. Our enemy continues to perpetrate the crime of starvation against more than 2 million Palestinians by their siege and not allowing humanitarian aid. Those who didn't die by bombardments are dying because of starvation, and anyone who hinders the access of aid into Gaza is a partner in such a crime against our people and shall bear the responsibility of the repercussions of such a crime. Not allowing all requirements for basic human life, including water wells, bakeries, hospitals, electricity generators and shelters. We are warning that the number of martyrs will increase due to thirst and famine, which is warning of a humanitarian catastrophe. Therefore, we call upon the Arab and Muslim nations to bear their humanitarian and ethical responsibilities. It's the right of our people to live a free and dignified life without siege, without bombardment, without aggression, and without threat. No Israeli will feel safe if our people didn't enjoy the same. It's an increasing number of massacres against civilians, with the increased number of killed and injured among the displaced in shelter zones. We reiterate our call to the following. We call upon the UNRWA and the WHO to assume their humanitarian and ethical responsibilities to continue supplying our people in Gaza with the humanitarian aid, and not to cede to the demands and terms and conditions of the occupation. Actually, we can't understand the position of UNRWA responding and heeding the demands of the occupation against their mandate. We also call upon international humanitarian and medical organizations to intensify their access to all areas of Gaza and aid the residents of Gaza with all humanitarian aid. We call also upon all Arab and Muslim countries to move seriously and immediately to break such a siege against Gaza and to open humanitarian corridors and to open all hospitals across all Gaza with all medical disciplines and supply the Gaza Strip with fuel, medicine, water and food. Third, in this long series of lies of the Israelis and the Americans, the American administration, with the statements of their officials, continues to adopt the Zionist narrative without verifying or vetting any of such information. Latest is the statement of the National Security Advisor of the United States that the occupation's army does not target civilians in Gaza. This is a lie, a blatant lie. It's more than 70% of 16,000 martyrs are women and children, and definitely in their eyes they are not civilians. You can expect what would be the advice and the counsel of such national security advisor, and what would the decisions of such administration would look like based on his advice. the claims and the lies of the Zionists, claiming that some of their women have been raped. Actually, this is to cover and underscore the human treatment of our fighters with these individuals. Such scenes have disturbed the Nazi regime. They have tried desperately to dehumanize our people. We say that these false claims are in their sick imagination of extreme Zionist individuals that allows the Zionist soldiers to rape the women of others, and this is supported by this individual who is the military rabbi in the Israeli Defense Forces, who allowed and permitted sanction to the soldiers to rape non-Jew women, saying that when we are intended, the Torah has allowed us to satisfy the soldiers' needs for women. And it is permissible to engage in sexual activity with women during war against their will. And this is another rabbi, Rayon Lenovin, talks about permitting, but rather the need to kill children in the war.
Being vicious to the ultimate victim that this child will grow up and kill. Because the ideology that child will grow up with is even worse than the ideology of his father. That's the reason why the Torah in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20, verse 16, says, rules of war, do not allow anyone to remain alive. Nothing. No mercy. Furthermore, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 19, completely erase any memory of Amalek, which means men, women, and children, the Torah says, do not have the right to exist.
These are the doctrine of their rabbis and their clergymen. And here I ask, when Blinken, the Secretary of State who identifies himself as a Jew, does he listen to such words when he deals with the Palestinian issue, permitting the killing of children and allowing the rape of women? As the rabbi of the Zionist army preaches, we call upon all media outlets all around the world to continue covering the suffering of our people in Gaza Strip and the heinous crimes perpetrated against them, which expresses the true nature of this Zionist entity, and to work with all professionality and objectivity to reveal the lies of the Zionist discourse. And such an act and such bias to the Zionist discourse constitutes a partnership in this crime. Some Western media outlets continue to perpetrate lies, serves only the agendas of the occupation, will not save them from prosecution before the law. We call them to rectify their mistakes and to retract such an approach that would question their accountability and can hold them accountable legally. In conclusion, we reiterate our call to the people of our Arab and Muslim nations to escalate all sorts of demonstrations and vigils across all plazas in rejection of the occupation's war against our people and to uncover their crimes. And I would like to confirm here that this movement, in addition to the action of the resistance in the field and our people standing fast on their land, this will limit the time window of this aggression. We also would like to appreciate the efforts by the countries that have received our injured citizens to support them, and we welcome all support to continue our resistance on our land and foil all attempts for displacement. The systematic violations and heinous crimes perpetrated against our prisoners in the prisons of the occupation. We demand on all humanitarian organizations and international organizations to exert pressure on the occupation to allow visitation to such prisoners and deny Ben Gvir's enjoyment and pleasuring himself visiting the prisons simply to please himself by watching them suffer. We would like to hail and salute the Al-Azhar position and announcing granting Palestinian students scholarships to study at Al-Azhar University, and we call upon Al-Azhar Imam to lead a movement of scholars across the entire nation to break the siege against Gaza and allow humanitarian aid across the Rafah crossing. And we call upon the scholars to adopt such an idea and make it a reality on the ground, following the hadith of the Prophet. No Muslim can sleep with his stomach full while his neighbor is starving. In conclusion, we pray Allah the Almighty to heal the injured. This is a jihad. It's either victory or martyrdom. And thank you very much. If you have any questions. You have announced from Lebanon general conscription. Some people describe this a breach of Lebanon's sovereignty. And many voices call for Hezbollah not to be involved in this war. What we hope for, before any comment, it's good that you ask this question, and I would like not to be involved in the Lebanese internal affairs. Our policy is clear in this regard. We have maintained such a policy, and we will continue to maintain such policy. Our relations with Lebanon is with all components of the Lebanese structure, political and social. What we have called for is a cultural, ideological, to attract the Palestinian youth rather than being misled by other ideologies that is not in sync with our cause against the occupation. Our people who have been displaced from their land 75 years ago and who have carried this cause for 75 years, leading the resistance, we will not accept that our youth and our children be ideologized in other directions. And in light of the heroic resistance of our people, we have called to attract such people culturally, socially, and politically that aims to engage our youth, our young, in a national project to meet our dreams and our aspirations for liberation and return to the land. This is the call, and I hope no one would exaggerate this. We are confirming it again in this manner. Karim Khan's visit to Israel of the International Criminal Court, and what about the prisoner swap? As for exchange of prisoners, I have said we will not talk about a swap without stopping the war and the aggression against Gaza. Our partners, they have exerted efforts, but the occupation has foiled such a deal. Today, Netanyahu just hit the last nail in this deal. He said Netanyahu claimed or announced that not all the prisoners would be able to come back. Talking about the prisoners afterwards, we hope that this will stop. We have our prisoners in the occupations prisons. If you want to talk about your captives, let's talk about prisoners. The question about Karim Khan, it's unfortunate his statement talking about only the Israeli side, talking about some moral support to the families of the Palestinian prisoners, doesn't call for releasing them, doesn't take a decisive stand before the crime that is taking place before his eyes, talking about something imaginary, lie and untrue claims, and he talks only about what happened on the 7th of October, forgetting what happened since 7th of October until now. I believe his credibility is undermined and draws a question mark whether the court is playing a political role supporting the occupation rather than a legal role that criminalizes crimes, war crimes and crimes against humanity. A threat of assassination. First of all, this is very rude. If a prime minister of a particular country announces that they will commit terrorist acts in other countries, imagine another head of state talking in such a manner. What kind of a campaign? You can imagine the kind of campaign that will be waged against them. That's why there is a question to be asked to the entire world. Why everyone is shamefully silent if the Israeli prime minister is tasking the relevant agency to commit crimes in other countries. The other issue is that such threats will not change our political positions, will not influence our decisions, will not push us to retreat. We are holding fast and strongly with our rights to continue our resistance. Operations of our resistance will continue until we achieve our national goals and objectives. This battle is not the battle of Hamas. This is a battle of the Palestinian people for the sake of Gaza, Jerusalem, Gaza and the West Bank, and for the return of the refugees back to Palestine. Personally speaking, about any Hamas leader, all Hamas leaders are potential martyrs. However, Hamas project is a project of victory, and we have written the annals of such a story that will end in Jerusalem. If Netanyahu is threatening, some of these leaders will walk into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Does Al-Qassam brigades have 17 Israeli soldiers? We will not talk about the numbers of soldiers. This is something of Al-Qassam brigades leaderships. They can talk in details about this, and it's not the right time yet to talk about this. Thank you.